I would like to take this opportunity. I will be speaking today about transparency, the importance of transparency in the European Union, and I will prove why transparency is so important, especially when we talk about rule of law. Before I start my argument, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a journalist from Germany who did not stop, who did not cave, and who was not afraid to seek the truth. When this journalist, whose name I don't know, and that's not important, saw the news out there in the month of April of 2021 that Ursula von der Leyen signed a contract with Pfizer for 1.8 billion, not million, billion with B, new doses of Pfizer vaccine. The guy requested from the European Commission, based on the regulation, the EU law, that gives you guys access as journalists to documents held by the Commission. So this journalist requested all the communications between the European Commission and between Ursula von der Leyen and the head, the CEO of Pfizer company. The answer that this journalist received from the European Commission was that they cannot give him the personal messages or the direct messages between Ursula von der Leyen and the head, the CEO of Pfizer. The journalist did not stop there. He filed a complaint with the Ombudsman office. In the month of September of last year, it was publicly announced by the Ombudsman office that they are starting an investigation. I'm not here to criticize the media, but I have to tell you guys, the Brussels media was only one outlet who reported the story. We as MEPs, we found out 2 weeks afterwards about this investigation. We start promoting that, and that's how the mainstream media started talking about that investigation. A few weeks ago, the Ombudsman released the conclusions of that investigation. And the Ombudsman office said, and I quote, there was maladministration when the European Commission, and implicitly the head of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, refused to release, to disclose these personal communications between her and the Pfizer CEO. So my question to all of you, not only of you are journalists, but people who are watching us and who will be watching us, is this the kind of Europe that we want? Where the president, an unelected by the people president of the European Commission, is negotiating personally with the head of a private company that will affect our basic fundamental rights, as all of my colleagues already said. We should, not only that we are entitled by law and by the Treaty of the European Union to have access to these documents, but it should have been her, the first one disclosing this information to us as MEPs, to you as journalists, and to everybody living in the European Union, because we are all affected by these decisions, and that did not happen. So I have to take this opportunity to thank Emily O'Reilly, the European Ombudsman, for not caving, for not stopping, and for actually doing her job. She was pressured. She was threatened. I know the kind of backdoor deals were here in the Parliament. To stop mentioning in all these reports about her activity, do not say anything about the contracts. Backdoor deals. But she did not stop. She did what was supposed to be doing. And that's how we found out that there was maladministration. But this is not enough. You remember a few months ago, in a similar press conference, I showed you the contracts, the way they were released to the public and to US media. After the pharma companies accepted to be released this way. And I will show you some of the pages. This is the contract with Moderna. Pfizer is even worse. At least here you can see the page number. In the Pfizer, in the contract, with Pfizer that was released to the public, you can't even see the page number. So I'm asking all of you, is this transparency? Do you as journalists or you as people feel safe when the head of the European Commission is negotiating personally with the CEO of a private company, public company, whatever, you know, they have stock, but it's still a company. It's not the government. It's not the state. We became objects of these people. They strip away our rights because they have commercial agreements. This is unacceptable. So yesterday, we had to vote in the plenary, and you can check the record, on what is called the activities of the European Ombudsman annual report for 2020. And I have to congratulate my colleagues from all the groups who included in this report, in the draft report, I would say, before it was put to vote, an article where the Parliament, the European Parliament, is demanding, it's asking, it's urging the European Commission to release not only all the contracts that were released, as I showed you. This is the great transparency in the European Union. The Parliament said in its draft report that all the contracts with this pharmaceutical company be released, and going forward, the European Commission should not accept a clause in this contract that they will not be able to release the full content, the full version of these contracts. We were all happy with that article. But we were shocked yesterday morning when we saw an amendment from the EPP group, the European People's Party group. That's not People's Party anymore. The European Special Interest Group. So I will read and I quote some of the things that were mentioned in this article, because it's important, especially for us journalists, to have access to correct information in order for you to properly inform the audience. And what they try to do. The first thing mentioned in this report is the following, and I quote, "It is in the interest of the European citizens to have clarity and transparency on the advance purchase agreements and purchase agreements concerning COVID-19 vaccines, and that this must prevail over the request of the manufacturing to introduce non-disclosure clauses." The amendment proposed by EPP was to remove this language. So my question is, why don't they want to have people access to these contracts? Second thing, the European Parliament, it's encouraging the Ombudsman to continue her inquiries and to ask the Commission to publish non-redacted versions of such advanced purchase agreements and purchase agreements. This text was proposed by EPP to be removed from the report. Why? And I'm urging you guys as journalists, ask the leadership of EPP group why they don't want the European citizens and you as journalists to see the contracts, the content of these contracts. The article also says that emphasizes that any lack of transparency in the framework of COVID-19 pandemic is at odds with citizens' rights to information and fuels disinformation and distrust, which is true. We don't know what's in these contracts. Some people contacted me unofficially who said, "Man, you should not be aware everything is okay." I said, I don't know. But just the fact that even us as MEPs, we are not able to see the full version of these contracts, this is the problem in itself. Even this text, they wanted to be removed. And there was another mention where the European Commission was urged to fully publish all these contracts. Also this text was proposed to be removed. But see, people have the power. We mentioned before that we are elected by the people, for the people. So we had a vote yesterday from all the political groups except EPP, who took into consideration the fundamental rights of the European citizens. And this is how they voted. Here's the result of the vote. 187 MEPs, the vast majority from EPP, voted in favor of this amendment to not allow the EU citizens and the journalists to have access to full contracts. On the other side, 506 MEPs voted that these contracts be published, that the European Commission should publish them immediately, and they should not accept any such clauses going forward. I've done a calculation. 27% of the MEPs who voted yesterday voted against transparency, and 72% of the MEPs voted in favor of transparency. These were all across political groups except EPP, from the left to the right. Because we are here for the people. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank again to this journalist from Germany who did not stop and keep pressuring to find out what is going on between these messages that were privately exchanged between the head of the European Commission and the CEO of Pfizer. I would also like to thank my colleagues from all political groups who all fought for the same thing. We all want these contracts to be published. And I think it's time, as all my colleagues said, the European Union right now, it's in a deep crisis. It's in a crisis of leadership, and it is in a crisis of accountability. We already have 2 investigations here that are proving that Ursula von der Leyen is clearly not fit for this office. She committed maladministration on the way she handled that request from the journalist, and 72% of the MEPs just voted yesterday that all of these contracts be published. So I join my colleagues and I publicly demand the immediate resignation of Ursula von der Leyen and allow this union to actually be led by a person who truly believes in the European values, in transparency, and in respect for fundamental rights. Thank you.